Fish at 6. Let's tackle some old-fashioned bologna and see if we can slice it up and cut it up and make it into a new meal. I'm Mike Fisher, your trusty and trusted reporter. This is Like Live, Fish at 6, as this is the fishbowl. That is a star. It's rainy and chilly and wet, so hope for staying warm and dry and safe during the North Texas winter wonderland here. One thing in the Dallas Cowboys Texas Coast offense that didn't quite work. And again, this was the highest scoring offense in football. They went 12-5. Dak Prescott's going to get MVP votes. CeeDee Lamb is going to get Offensive Player of the Year votes. But Tony Pollard probably not going to get a whole bunch of accolades. Not that it's necessarily all his fault, but the running game in 2023 did not click on the expected level. So we're going to revisit an old idea with a new angle. Would King Henry finally be the right fit here, a last gasp fix for the issues in 2024? Last gasp for them, Cowboys, and last gasp for him. Yes, we will review your comments, your questions, and your criticisms, as we always do. Bring something of intellect to the table. I'll review the comments over the course of the evening. Breakfast at Fish and East, 7:20 every morning. Fish at 6, almost always live, sometimes Like Live, every night at 6 p.m. or whenever we darn please. So they move on from Zeke. A decision that many of you still think, wait, you sure you couldn't have used him? Power back? Of course, as we know, they never gave him a contract offer because they didn't want to insult him. And away he goes to New England and has a semi-productive season as kind of a grinded-out guy there. They hand the keys to Tony Pollard, and they hand him $10 million, the franchise tag number. And if you recall what we talked about last spring, we said it on this show. Tony, because he delayed for a little bit, you might want to hurry up and sign that before they pull it off the table, because $10 million is too much. I said it then, and I'm prepared to say it again, as I think the franchise tag this year, I think it's for running back $12 million. I'm not going there. McCarthy, if you remember, said the running game would be a focal point of the Texas Coast offense. Now, what I always said in looking back on the 49ers, 88-89, when I covered them, and they ran that West Coast offense, Bill Walsh designed, of course, it was a horizontal offense. They used running backs. They used Roger Craig. They used Tom Rathman. But I don't remember that as being a run-first offense. It was a horizontal offense. You could Brett Jones at tight end, in addition, obviously, to Jerry Rice and John Taylor. You could have Montana and Steve Young throw the ball 4 yards. So it was conservative in that sense and horizontal, but they still threw it. McCarthy wanted this to be a good running team. It wasn't a consistently good running team. They failed to get going. There was, I think, a very noticeable shift in the attacking mindset after week 5, thanks to that brutal loss at San Francisco. I think the Cowboys, and I don't know if I can ever get anybody to say that, I think the Cowboys gave up on the idea that we're going to be run reliant. And call it phrase it how you want. It's semantics. Run first, run reliant, emphasize the run, establish the run, whatever you want to call it. They wanted to be a better running team than they were, and so they started deciding maybe we should just be a better passing team. And by gosh, there they were. In the end, Dallas finishes 15th in the NFL in rushing yards, 113. Middle of the pack. Worse than the previous year when they averaged 132 yards per game. I'm not very good at math. They were 20 yards worse this year on the ground than they were a year ago. And we can't say that's because of Zeke, because Zeke's yards per carry in 2021, not good. We can say, and I don't know if we'll ever put our finger on why this happened. Tony Pollard made his mark here. Obviously, he can do a lot of things, but splash plays, explosives. There goes Tony Pollard for 20, 30, 40, 60. That didn't happen this time. And I don't know if it's because he was coming off the surgery and he was just quiet. And he would say this. He said, I'm getting there. He'd make it sound like it's just this far away. But they were yay far away from ever having a series of 20, 30, and 40-yard runs. In 4 of the Cowboys' 5 regular season losses, they were held under 100 yards. Yeah, that could be situational. That could be game script. But it darn sure isn't complimentary football, the way Mike McCarthy envisioned it. They did not maintain complimentary football throughout the year, as good as they were otherwise. So Tony, first season as a lead back, a relatively down year. Plenty of teams would take Tony Pollard. He had 1,000 yards rushing, 6 touchdowns, but averaged just under 60 yards a game. So see, that's how we get to 1,000 yards now. You know, it used to be 1,000 yards in 14 games. Now you get 1,000,000 games to get your 1,000. And the math's not going to add up very handsomely here. 252 carries. Okay, on face value, again, 1,000 yards. But dive just a little bit deeper. Last season, Tony Pollard had the same number of yards. This year it's 1,005. Last year it's 1,007. He had 9 rushing touchdowns. That didn't work this year. Red zone, especially early on, a problem. Yards per game. Okay, yards per game, 3 yards more. Same. But Pollard had 59 more carries this year than he did last year, and then, again, produced the same. In 59 more carries, he still only got 1,000 yards. Only had one 100-yard rushing game. Way back in week 3 against the Cardinals, when the Cowboys were trying to establish the run, and they lost. Never had more than 79 yards in a game outside of that. And again, I was half expecting him to have a couple 79-yard runs, let alone 79-yard games. Final 9 games, only 2 rushing touchdowns. This is at the point where the Cowboys are starting to give up on, we're going to be a shove it down your throat in the red zone offense. They gave up. Hunter Lipke got a crack at it, and that didn't work out. So TP has less production, even though he had more involvement. Now, part of that, again, the rehab from the leg injury. Part of it, not able to be as fresh as he was when Zeke was here. Although, isn't that what Rico Dowdle was here for? And then the offensive line, the best 5. You know, Tyron missed a little bit. Zach missed a little bit. The gaping holes that Pollard saw a year ago, maybe not there. Rico, third-year running back, angry rushing style. Angry, but not quite as bullish as Zeke. And didn't get usage. 6 times he had 5 carries or more in a game. Only 6 times was he really even a participant. He did churn out yardage totals in games of 79, 46, and 46, along with 2 touchdowns when he got a chance. And coincidentally, in those 3 games, Dallas was up and over 130 yards rushing in the game, and Dallas won those 3 games. Then you throw in a little Cavante, and you throw in a little CD Lamb and Dak Prescott, and you start adding up to rushing numbers that look more respectable than they really are. I mean, it's great. CD Lamb, 14 carries, 113 yards, 2 touchdowns on the ground. But that's trick'em-dickum. That's not your traditional, we're going to punch you in the mouth, the way the 49ers, the Bills, and the Packers punched you in the mouth. They're about to do a serious reevaluation here of the running back room. Not of the offense. I think ideally, being able to run effectively and even run first, they'd like to recalibrate that and do that. I'm not putting the franchise tag on Tony Pollard again at $12 million. I can't imagine why they would do that. And then we start to wonder, you need a power back, says you. What about one medium-sized swing? Not a big swing anymore. Medium-sized swing at a, I think, fading talent who's approaching free agency. He's already said goodbye to Tennessee, Derrick Henry. Now, we've addressed the rumors. Last summer, there was rumors about trading for Derrick Henry. The Cowboys, and we shot him. It was bogus. At the trade deadline, there was rumors. And we reported on this show and at CowboysSI.com. The Cowboys were not sniffing around Derrick Henry. And remember the conversation, many of you said, why not? Well, that's an argument for another day. But my job was to report on the facts. And the facts were the Cowboys did not seriously sniff around Derrick Henry last summer or at the trade deadline. What about now? He's 30. He was pretty good. Now, the cliff is coming, and Derrick Henry's going to fall off of it. And I don't want it to be, if I'm you, in a Cowboy uniform when he does. I don't want him to be a Cowboy sludging around here, looking like a shell of his former self. But he just ran for almost 1,200 yards. Their offensive line stinks. Their quarterback play was erratic. He played in every game. He led the league in carries. And just when you thought, okay, well, that's about enough of Derrick Henry, his best game was his last game. 153 rushing yards, 1 touchdown, 19 carries, 8 yards per carry, and he won that FedEx Ground Game Award for the NFL. He was the best running back in the league in the last game of the year. Spot track. And again, they're just guessing. They project King Henry's 2024 salary at $4.3 million. That's a beard scratcher. I'll tell you why the Cowboys weren't in last summer or last trade deadline, because his salary was $12 million. If this projection is even close to right, and you can have Derrick Henry pick up the phone when you call him and offer him $4.3 million for 1 year, 1 year, last gasp for Derrick Henry. Now, he may not see it that way, but, Mike McCarthy's last gasp maybe as well. 1 year, one shot, one big stage. Derrick Henry, you've played your entire career, highly successful. Is he a 2-time rushing champion? Highly successful. The Titans have had moments where they've been good, but you've never been on this stage. Come to Dallas. 1 year, $4.3 million. Don't laugh at me, Derrick. Yet somebody else out there offers him $12 million. Good for him. $8 million. Good for him. But haven't we established now for the most part, with the franchise tag, that the bang in the buck isn't there? I don't think Saquon Barkley's going to get $12 million. I don't think Josh Jacobs is going to get $12 million. Other guys that dealt with that tag issue like Tony Pollard did. Remember last summer, all the running backs, most of them, got on a conference call. And they were a text chain. What are we going to do? Let's do something about this. And I said at the time, texting each other is not going to do anything. This is a matter for your agents and a matter for the Players Association. Let your union try to do something about it. Tony Pollard getting a text from Saquon Barkley doesn't do anything. You guys don't have that power. Dowdle, restricted free agent, figure him coming back. Way cheaper, obviously, than Pollard, like 1/12 of the price. Malik Davis signed to come back on a futures. Snoop Connor from Ole Miss signed to come here on a futures. Deuce Vaughn, he put up something on Instagram saying, I'm loaded for bear this year or whatever he put. Okay, maybe. And Hunter Lipke, who probably has killed a bear or two in his day. They'll both be back. Straight dope, no bullsh. Mike McCarthy has 1 year to try to get the Texas Coast offense where he wants it, including a running game, or else. Derrick Henry at 30 might have 1 year before he rides off into the sunset. There's going to be new faces in the running back room. And for the first time, amid all the conversation that everybody's had about Derrick Henry to Dallas, this is the first time at $4.3 million for 1 year. This is the first time that it's ever made any real sense to me. Fish out.